right now we are underway, and it's the formation app. As we are in the first sector, people are just warming up their tyres, preparing for the race in Australia. As Pikachu says, prepare. They're all on their formation lap. They're all getting warmth into their tyres. As someone's already lost their front wing on the formation lap. I don't like has already messed up. Will his race go the same way? That's the question. As everyone's going to be rounding up the grid. They're all going to start approaching the main straight to line up. So Alpine goes deep. As everyone's getting ready to start the race. As we've got people reversing on track. As it's red flags. You know what? Actually, that's a good point. You're actually really... That's actually smart. Let's do that, but how would I do a voiceover? Yeah, you can stop... Yeah. Flipper? Can you just message me how would I do a voiceover though?
What do you mean?
How would I do the voiceover? Will you just send me the video and how would I go over it?
Yeah, you just record yourself. If you can. Record your voiceover anyways.
Okay. So do I not commentate?
You can if you want to.
As we're underway for the race, pit lane starters are going to start their Australian Grand Prix. As right now, Mitch is leading the pack in the McLaren, the papaya orange, as he's now going to finish the first sector, as he is in the lead with Outguard 4 tenths behind. Deal with Romza, he got jumped by Outguard already, so it's a 1-2 for McLaren. Pikachu in the Aston Martin is in P4, fighting Dambo, but Dambo gets the position. Then ASM tucks in behind Pumpkin in the Mercedes. It's all kicking off from like P5 onwards, as the top 4, as the leaderboard's kind of gone weird. It's all kicking off, but at the front it's plain sailing. The McLaren duo have already pulled a second gap to Pikachu in the Aston Martin, as Dambo's overtaking Pikachu for P4. The Alfa Romeo man has pace and he can win the race, because in practice he was competitive. He gained praise from Mitch, who's in P1. So let's see who will have the better pace. As just noting it now, Dambo has the soft compound on, so this is an aggressive strategy for Dambo, but he's still 2 seconds off. I don't think this is going to be what he expected, as he has tons of grip, but he's with Pikachu keeping him comfort, as he's now in the tight bumpy bit as he survived. So far, Oh, Senna in P10. He went a bit wide. Oh, Joseph has no front wing in P14. That's not what he would have wanted. After such a strong result in Hungary, he now loses his front wing in the Alpine. As Mitch in P3, he got a cut. That's the first cut we've had this race. That's interesting because it's all about cuts and pace, because everyone will probably get at least one. So it's all about when they get it. Is it going to be the most crucial times? The first laps or so, it won't be a big deal. But if you're trying to make sure you don't get undercut and get a car, obviously you're gonna mess up. As ASM shouts on his team radio saying, "Dumb track," as Rossi says no on his team radio. He's not pleased. Clearly the track conditions are already bumpy on this warm day in Australia, but the McLaren pair are going basically wheel to wheel, so Mitch looks to have more pace. As Senna goes green, so does I don't in P10. So in P9 and P10 look to have some pace, they found pace. I don't is on softs. Senna's on mediums, Thomas is on mediums, RJ's on mediums, Pikachu's on mediums, Pumpkin's mediums, Romza mediums, Dambo softs, Mitch mediums, Outguard mediums. So the top 10, there's only one soft runner, and that's Dambo. We know he has some strong pace. As Romza and Pumpkin and Thomas and Senna go green in Sector 2, as now they're all on lap 5 of the Australian Grand Prix. Mitch leading by half a second. Romza 6 tenths behind his teammate Outguard, as then Dambo is 6 tenths behind Romza. It's all consistent gaps. As then at Pumpkin, oh no, as Senna says "loh" on his team radio, as he's already pitted, so he's pit for hards. That's going to be interesting as he goes really wide. He goes on like the white stuff near the curb. That's not going to be ideal, as currently ASM's raging on his team radio. Nothing too polite said by the Swedish man. As Mitch is about to lap Joseph already. It's lap 5 as Joseph has been lapped. He has no front wing and is not pitting. It's going to be a long pain. Hang on, no. He does have a front wing, so he must have pit. But then the top runners have a strong pace. As it's Romza in P2. He's overtaken Outguard, as now it's not a 1-2 for McLaren. It's a 1-2 McLaren Ferrari. We've all seen this before. Who's going to come out on top in this stint? As Romza has found some pace, Dambo on the softs hasn't really made much progression. As Pumpkin in P5 goes green. That's some strong pace showing for the Mercedes man, who's about to lap Joseph in the Alpine. Obviously no blue flags, as someone's already got track limits. That's I don't like in the Sector 1 in the Alpine. He must have abused the track, as that's his first warning of the race. As Romza's just behind Mitch, and we all know Mitch did get that 2-second slowdown. So if he didn't have that, he would be 2 seconds in the lead. So it just shows Mitch has pace. But Dambo, 9 seconds behind. We all know Dambo was roughly the same pace to Mitch. But in the race, it just shows Mitch can just be consistently putting in those fast lap times. As his Romza in the Ferrari is just behind. As there is a car. As everyone's just doing lap times, all set in yellow sectors. There's not much to commentate right now, as Mitch has gained a second lead on Rosa in the Ferrari. As the gaps are quite large between each driver, so there's not much action. The only action I can guess will be if people crash, which is sad, but otherwise it's quite a dull race so far. On track, the closest gap 6 tenths, and that's Pump and Pikachu in P Form 5. As Mitch went wide, he must have had the bump in Sector 3, and Roms is in the lead. This is Roms's first lap in HIFL for him to lead a race. Will he lead it for the rest of the race, or will he lose the lead? As Mitch is struggling to hit the bumps. Well, we all know he has a superior laptop, so it can't be bumps. As he's now a second behind Romsa. Romsa is showing, if you're just consistent, you can win. As Senna in the Mercedes has crashed in Sector 2. As that's him out of the race in Australia. As he won't be happy with that outcome, and he leaves the server. As Romsa goes wide in the Ferrari, and now Mitch pounces. So does Outguard. I think they're pretty much will to will. So it just shows whoever's at the top of the leaderboard always makes a mistake, and that just is a repeated pattern so far. Who's going to be consistent and just show they can lead the race? As it's now Mitch who regains the lead with Romsa 3/4 of a second behind, as in Outguard's 4 tenths behind, and he got a cut in the second. Dambo got a cut in the second as well. He's in P6, 15 seconds behind the leader. As then I Don't Like in P8 goes green in Sector 2. As Blue Dolphin in P12 does go green in Sector 1. So he's found some pace, but he is 68.9 seconds behind the leader in 9 laps. As Romsa has pace, he's 6 tenths behind Mitch, the defending champion. He's looked to have really consistent races, but so far we all know he's already gone wide a couple of times. So this might not be Mitch's race, as it would be good to see a Ferrari on the top step in HIFL, as Romsa is keeping the pressure on. Will Mitch crumble? As Thomas in the Ferrari car. No, hang on. Nope, he's in the Alfa Romeo. Why am I... as I believe I am back. Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. Is the stream still running? Okay, and sorry about that difficulties. Zoom just cut out as Outguard. He was setting competitive lap times as he comes out just in front of Mitch, but it is Rumza who leads the way. Rumza has made this strategy work. He's 4 seconds in front of the McLaren team mates, as then Pumpkin's 11 seconds behind them. He's lost out time. But it's Rumza in the Ferrari on the hards leading the way, as Mitch has gone for mediums and so has Outguard. Pumpkin's gone for mediums. Pikachu's gone for mediums. Dambo's gone for mediums. It's only Rumza who's gone for the hards. So the mediums will pit on lap 10 or 11, so they'll pit lap 20 or 21 to then presumably do softs for 7 laps, which could be a struggle. But then Rumza, he's done 11 laps on mediums. He could do 14 to 25 and do 3 laps on softs. It all depends. They might be relying on a safety car. Well, the chances of that are very unlikely, as I Don't Like says I'm gonna retire on his team radio. He's P9. Oh, he's lost his front wing. As he crashes anyway. He crashes. I Don't Like is out of the race in the Alpine. He says on team radio, the track doesn't suit me anymore. I used to be good at it. As he is out of the race. As then Rumza still 4 seconds in the lead, so he's making the hard work. But now Outguard's 3.6 behind, Mitch 5 seconds behind. Mitch lost some time, as I Don't Like did crash, but it's still carrying on. As he is out, he's in his pit box. As Roms is in the lead with only a 3-second gap. Outguard is gaining on the hard compound runner, as it's now 2.9 seconds. So in the first sector, Romza is strong. And let's just have a recap of the positions so far. Deal with Romza, the Ferrari man, P1, Outguard in the McLaren, 2.9 seconds behind Romza. Then Mitch, Outguard's teammate in the McLaren, the defending champion, the Flying Dutchman, in P3, 4.5 seconds behind Romza, with Pumpkin in the Mercedes, who goes green in Sector 1, 16 seconds behind the leader, with then Pikachu P5, Aston Martin, 18.8 seconds, Dambo in the Alfa Romeo, 23 seconds behind the leader, as in Thomas, P7, 38.9 seconds behind the leader, and Rozzie's just behind Thomas, with an RJ in P9, Suka, P10 in the house, 100 seconds behind the leader, with then Blue Dolphin, 3 seconds behind Suka in the Aston Martin. As right now, the gap in the front is 2.5 seconds. Outguard is gaining time, but his tyres will go off before Rumza, and Outguard's been in his tyres now 5 laps. He's only going to make it another 5 laps. So if he doesn't want to make a move, he does want to lead before he pits, he needs to get a move on. He needs to stick his finger out and drive to his limits. As Dambo, Thomas, Rossi all get a cut in their sector 2, just looking at the leaderboard times. As then the gap in front is now 3 seconds. Algar's lost 4 attempts. He needs to be gaining if he wants any chance of leading the race again. As then Mitch is 4 seconds behind, a second behind his teammate. Then Pikachu, Pumpkin, very close on track. Then Aston Martin and the Mercedes. As Pikachu then got a cut in sector 2, so now Pumpkin in the Mercedes in front of the Aston Martin driver. As then Davo also got a cut in sector 2, and he's 30 seconds behind the leader in the Alfa Romeo. Still good result for the team. As right now, the leader at the front's 3.3 gained another 3 attempts in the first sector. Romza is making the hard compound tyre work. There's now a 3-second gap. It's all very close, as Mick is gaining to outguard. Pikachu does set a green in sector 3, as then everyone else is setting yellows. It's all plain sailing so far, as we're on lap 16 out of 28. As Romza, it says on the leaderboard he got a red sector 2, but he did get slowed down. As the gap's now 2.6, Outguard is actually gaining, but then Mitch is 3.6 seconds behind the leader. So far, this has to be the closest top 3 we've seen so far this season, which is very good considering it's lap 16. As the McLaren drew very close to, which is good to see. As will they gain to Romza? Yes, they do, by at least another 10th. Romza has good pace on the hard compound, as everyone else behind the top 3 is then Pikachu. Oh, Pikachu must have overtook Pumpkin, so they're very close on track. Pikachu and Pumpkin are very similar in pace. It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top after the race. As then Dambo's in P6, the Alfa Romeo driver, he is probably around 8 seconds to 9 seconds behind those 2. As all the other guys, Rosie and Thomas, is quite close on track, but then back from then P9 to P11, a long way behind. As Roms is in the lead by 2.9 seconds, so the gap's now gained by another 3 attempts. As then Mitch, he's overtaken his teammate. He's saying, let's get a move on. We can't be sitting around all day. We've got to get closer. So Mitch is going to make some sort of attempt of attack on Romza, who looks pretty settled in this race. Will Mitch be able to unsettle Romza? It's now a 3.1 second gap, as they're so close on track than Mercedes teammates. As no, McLaren. I'm sorry, it's because they're similar and again of the names. As then it's Blue Dolphin also getting in the way of the battle, as the gap's now 3.4 seconds. Romza is making these hard work. He has pace, he's looking settled, he's in a rhythm, and is probably on the best strategy. As Mitch and Outguard are going to have to go for softs, because they've already used 1 compound and need to use 2 compounds in the race. It's a rule in HIFL, you have to use 2 compounds or you get disqualified. As the gap's now 3.5 seconds, they're losing time on Romza in each sector. Romza's showing his good race pace, as on the cuts it shows Outguard's got 4, so does Rossi. RJ and Blue and Suka all have 0, so that's very good. As Romza has track limits in sector 3, he's pushing, as he does gain, well, he was 3.5 up before, but then he lost attempt to Mitch in the 3rd sector. As he's just on a rhythm right now, as the Mitch has gapped Outguard by 1.3 seconds. So Mitch is getting a move on, Outguard's just going backwards in this race, as Outguard's now 5.3 seconds behind Romza, as Everyone else has large gaps, but Rosie and Thomas are the closest to the track, 7 and 8 in the race, as 1 and 2 have a 3.3-second gap, as Romza has just shown strong pace this whole race, as Mitch isn't gaining. He's been on his tyres for now 7 laps, I want to say. He's going to be pitting 3 laps. So he's going to be pitting for softs, and he's going to be on them for roughly like 5 laps to the end, which is doable. Dambo as Sarvins joined. Savaz, Mitch, no. Yeah, Mitch went really wide as he's now pitting. So he's lost time there. As Algar's 7.1 seconds behind now. He's gone red in sector 2. As well, I'm just shocked at the moment. I can't predict who's going to be in the top 3. Because at the moment, Mitch is messing up a lot. But he has pit for softs. 8 laps on softs around the schedule is a stretch. But if anyone can do it, it's definitely Mitch. The Season 1 champion, the Flying Dutchman, the man who is in the papaya orange car. He's 22 seconds behind Robinson. And Albert 7 seconds behind Robinson. So the gaps are quite lengthy. As Dambo's in the pit in the Alpha as he's pit for softs. I nearly missed him there, my bad. As Rossi, he goes green in sector 2, as he's now in sector 3 as he comes across the line. He's gaining time to the lead as Rom's pit. He's going to be pitting for softs. As it's reported that Sarvin's on the track. As still quite smooth so far in the race, as the gap between Romza and Mitch looks to be pretty similar. It's now 3.4-second gap between the two. I'm trying to see where Sarvin is on track. Who is this in? Yeah, he's still on track. As I'm going to be kicking him from the server. Sorry to the drivers if that distracted them, but he shouldn't be on track. It's a professional league race. He should know better. As RJ's getting up by Mitch. As Roms has now got a 3.7 gap. As Romza goes purple in the first sector, 4.1-second gap to Mitch. Romza is just showing pure pace. He has the speed to win this. As will Mitch respond? Will he get green in sector 2? As he goes yellow, but still gains. As everyone's going green. Oh, noticing Pumpkin's got the move on Pikachu for P4. as the gap is now 3.6. Mitch set the fastest lap. Mitch is the fastest man on track. Outguard 9.8 seconds behind, 10.1 now. Outguard's just... As Roms is in the second sector now, he's going to be pushing. Mitch 3.7 behind. He's lost time in the first sector. As my commentary won't be as good since I need to manage the race, whilst the other FIA member has to pray, so I won't be as vocal. Just monitoring the drivers, as they all seem to be driving clean. As Ramsey does go green in sector 2, Mitch can't respond. As it's now getting close. Will we have a new winner in HIFL? This moment hasn't came up for ages, as Ramsey is gapping to Mitch. So far, Mitch has won the season opener and Hungary, and he started from P2. This race, Mitch started on pole, but he's going to be finishing in P2 unless Ramsey crashes. But Ramsey has the speed. Ramsey looks like to be the man to take the win, to take maximum points, because he has the fastest lap. So, oh, Pikachu, he must have disconnected because he's in P9 and he's disconnected. Yeah, that's not ideal for the Aston Martin driver. He's going to be furious. As right now, it's just a lot of yellow sectors. As Roms has nearly got a 5-second gap to Mitch. Wow, we might see a Ferrari win in HIFL. Trying to recall all the races, I don't think we've had a Ferrari winner in the league so far. So Roms is going to be the man, if he keeps it clean, to take that position. As what's the gap going to be as Mitch comes across the line? It's going to be 4.5. So I can already see the trend. Roms is fast in the first sector, but Mitch is better in the third. Second sector, they're quite equal. So that's interesting. So far right now, it looks like Roms can keep the win, keep the lead. As it was Mitch who did pit before anyway, so Roms has better times. As Mitch now has a 4.8 second gap, he lost 2 tenths. So that's the trend. Mitch always seems to be losing roughly 2 tenths every sector 1, which is costly. As it's now a 10-man grid, since 5 people did disconnect or crash. So right now, Mitch does go green in sector 2, so he's trying to gain to Ramsey, but Ramsey looks consistent. He looks, as he suffers from some bumps in sector 3. This is the sector where Mitch tends to gain. So it'll be interesting to see if Mitch does gain even more now. So the gap's 4.6, so Ramsey's across the line. Mitch coming across the line now, the gap's 3.6. So there's 2 little bump slides from Ramsey. Cost him a second. So he needs to be careful. 2 laps remain, lap 26 of 28. As Suka in the house goes green in sector 2. RJ in the Red Bull went green in sector 1. Thomas in the Alfa Romeo pits. He hits the wall a tad. He overran it a tad. As he's pitting with only 2 laps to go, but and have RJ just come in front of him, but should overtake fresh tyres. So far in the midfield, there's not been too much action, only between Pumpkin and Pikachu. So sorry to those drivers there who haven't been mentioned that much, but there's not really been much action. As in the front, the gap is 3.8 seconds. So it's going to be a 2-3 for McLaren by the looks of things so far. Pumpkin in P4 for Mercedes, and 5 for for Alfa Romeo, as then Outguard gets a red sector 2. A second and a half goes green. Sector 1. Showing pace as the gap in the front is now 3.3. Mitch is gaining on Romza. So far, Romza's been very cool-headed. He has a rhythm. He's just driving in that rhythm. Nothing can keep him not in the rhythm. As the gap's now 3.7. Romza gains 4 attempts. He wants this win. He's desperate. He wants to have glory in HIFL. Mitch, he knows what glory is like in HIFL. It's time to share glory. As the Flying Dutchman, he gets a bit of a snap in sector 2. He's chasing down Romza, but Romza just has it covered. As Mitch loses time in sector 2. Will he gain in sector 3? As my mouth as a commentator is bone dry, so it's hard to speak, but I'll carry on to persevere just like Romza, who wants this win. As Romza is going to be starting the last lap of the Australian Grand Prix in Season 2, Round 3. As the gap's now 3.9 seconds, Romza can do it. He's gaining time each sector to Mitch. Will Mitch not win a race? So far this season in HIFL, Mitch has won every single race this season. It has been very repetitive, so Romza, he's going to refresh us as anyone watching. So the viewers, the FIA, the other drivers, it's going to feel refreshing to not see Mitch, the Flying Dutchman, the guy in McLaren with orange, similar to the Dutch Army orange, as right now it's going to be red raining in Australia, as Rossi's giving a nice selection to Romza, as Mitch just has no response. He's lost 1.9 seconds in sector 2. Romza's driving for his life. He wants this win. He's desperate, as it's going to be the Scarlet Red team who's going to take glory. Will Romza keep it clean in the remaining corners of sector 3? He's gonna take it. Romza wins the Australian Grand Prix in Season 2, Round 3. The Scarlet Red Ferrari wins. It's refreshing to see a new winner in HIFL, as Mitch is already accusing Romza of nice FPS on Lucca. As Outguards P3. Hang on. Sorry. As Pumpkin takes P4 from Mercedes, Outguard P3 from McLaren, Mitch P2 from McLaren. As Blue Dolphin takes the 1 point in P10. Good race from him. As RJ P7. As Mitch is just not happy. It's interesting to see that the race Mitch doesn't win, he's already accusing Romza. As drivers are saying bumps ruin their race. As 2 drivers are now accusing Romza of FPS from Lucca. as drivers are accusing Rumza of FPS mucker. So Mitch is going to have to provide evidence for the FIA to explore this. As Flipper, are you there? Flipper, did you record any onboards of Mitch behind Rumza? Right, okay. Interested. Well, thank you for watching the stream to anyone who did. FIA have some work to do, and we appreciate your attendance to watching them and to the drivers who are watching the video. Thank you, and we'll see you next time in France. Goodbye.